So let's do this.
All
Welcome
right.
to this edition of TNT.
Boom.
Boom.
Booming. We
Boom.
booming in. Okay, we booming in now.
I'm
Because
Pastor Joe.
it's a lot going on already. Loaded commentary. You understand what I'm saying? In the John P. Key and Hezekiah Walker is going on here.
Yep. I'm Pastor Joe with the great Michael Amel. The first, this guy. And so he was asking about tests. So my personal opinion, since I'm being asked, is that standardized tests have their place. I do recognize that it gives you goals to shoot for. It helps keep the teachers accountable.
Okay.
But the problem with standardized tests is they do not really deal with the nuances of demographics. And I can tell you, without getting into many specific details, but just in my class, on my grade level, just to give you an example, I've been teaching for a number of years, and we have 4 teachers on the grade level. And in my class, this is the first time in the history of my teaching that I have yet to have a student make honor roll. I have not first quarter.
How long you been doing it?
This is I'm on my way to like year 10 or so. This is the first time in my class period.
But are you listening to what the teacher is saying?
And so there are other classes, and I'm not talking about Virginia Beach. I'm not talking about Alexander. I'm talking about my specific school. There are other classes that have students that are making all A's. Well,
we're in the city of Portsmouth, by the way, right now. This location in the city of where you are.
Right. So I have a responsibility of causing my children, who I'm not going to say are struggling academically, but obviously they're not excelling at the same rate as some of the other people, of trying to get them to pass this particular test. And at the end of the day, if all of us go to the bakery and we all buy the bag of flour and it's all have the same milk, and then we have to bake the cake, and mine comes out better, then we can definitely talk about skills. But if you are given the choicest flour and I'm given some below brand, and the expectation is for us to hit the same mark, that's the difference. That's the juggle of teaching. It's part of the challenge. It's part of why we do it. But my issue really is just the whole idea of standardized testing, because, like I said, it has its place, but it just doesn't take into account the reality of nuances of demographics. And I mean, I could talk about this all day, but just to kind of give you an example, everybody's dealing with something. But we, like, I literally deal with children who have told me that they were kept up all night because of the guns they heard going off in the neighborhood. Well, that child is supposed to perform at the same level as the other kids, and it's hard. It's hard to do. So, it is what it is. It's the profession.
Do you think that hey, Aunt Ruth and Ramona B, do you think that the education system that we have here at its core is dysfunctional?
Yeah, because
and please chime in. Feel free, guys, to chime in.
It's inherently flawed because, again, there's an expectation for you to, within a very specific time frame, take a student from A to B. Again, if everybody is at the same starting block, that's one thing. But let's just throw out all of this, right? If you're in elementary education, particularly if you're teaching third graders, second graders today, I'm not talking about in time, today, you are teaching the COVID kids who were on Zoom for kindergarten. That's a real nuance that should be taken account of.
Wow, nobody's ever talking about that, Pastor.
Right.
Wow. All right. Go. Yeah. Go ahead. I never considered that.
So some of these kids, their first uh, full educational experience was sitting in front of a camera and having a teacher teach them on Zoom, which is kind of not what kindergarten is about. You know,
That's true.
and so there was a learning curve that these guys didn't get.
Wow.
And the powers
I
kind
never
of
thought
that
of
be don't seem to take some of these things into account. And you could probably point to different years. I was listening to a rapper talk about living in Memphis in 1968. Uh, and I guess the day or two after Dr. King got assassinated, they called it Black Friday because basically the school shut down because
Right.
everybody knew that nobody was going.
Right.
Right.
It was morning. And they were mourning.
Right. Well, that made sense for the powers that be to understand we got to do something a little bit different today. Got a message, my children, we live in Virginia Beach. On April 28th, school is getting dismissed early. Why? Because something in the water is coming. And they're trying to mitigate the traffic and all of that.
Right.
Right. Somebody's thinking ahead.
Right. Planning. Right.
And it should be that with all of this type of stuff.
Seems very simple, though. I mean, it seems elementary, not to have a pun,
no
but
pun intended, right?
It really is elementary.
It is. It is.
You don't want your children at school stuck, and Jay-Z and Beyonce have shut it down trying to get to the ocean front.
Exactly.
It's like it just doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
I need my child with me.
Right. Exactly.
Man, that was so good for me. I had never considered that. I've always said that there are children that I was teaching that never knew until Trump never knew that black president didn't exist.
Right. That's a big deal. That's true.
They never knew.
Never knew.
When they were 2 and 3 was right before Barack got in. Then they were aware of themselves and life. They were aware about 2 or 3.
Right.
I'm going to be president because the president looks like me.
Right. Yep.
Then he's there for 8 years.
Right.
They have no concept that this is an anomaly of sorts.
Yeah, that's almost your whole schooling.
Was a person of color was in that chair.
Yep.
Man. Wow. 2 Americas is kind of what we're talking about, among other things. And I've always been, it's interesting we started with education, because I've always felt a type of way about a couple of things that we're going to be discussing. One is the Pledge of Allegiance. Sir, have you ever stood up and said it? I mean, we all have said it. I've said it before, but I felt the type of way. I feel like I was made to say it.
Yeah, I was forced, obviously in school, we had to stand up and say it. I remember, we had to say it every day. As a teacher, we don't really do it as much as we did in my first early years.
Mm-hmm.
But morning announcements, Pledge of Allegiance, whatever the school pledge is, and I just kind of try to do my best to keep my job and do what I need to do. But I don't really say it. I'll stand sometimes.
That part.
But I'll stand because I have to make sure that the children are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So if I expect them to stand, I'll stand. I'll always say our school pledge because I believe in that. But I'm kind of one of those guys who refrains from, because I don't get pledging allegiance to a flag.
So let's first go back, and this is old school booming right here at TNT. Let's define allegiance. Because we used to have a word. Remember, we used to have a word.
We did. That's right. That was one of our statements.
Allegiance. Let's look at what that means. We know what a pledge is, an oath,
right.
A commitment.
Solemn,
solemn swearing even.
Right.
Actually, the Bible speaks against oaths, but that's another story, but pertinent. Allegiance, it's a noun. Loyalty or commitment of a subordinate. Subordinate is underlined. I think that's noteworthy. Wow. Loyalty or commitment of a subordinate to a superior or of an individual to a group or cause. So we are pledging allegiance to a cause. What is the cause we're pledging to? So my question today, our cause. Is it your cause that you're pledging to? That's a real question. I like to recite it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Our allegiance literally is to the cause. Allegiance means cause of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag, not the country, the flag of the United States of America. And because we're a democracy, yes, that's what we've been taught and told and programmed with. And to the republic. My allegiance is to the republic for which the flag stands. Pastor, you can jump in anytime you like.
You can, man, you're preaching, brother.
One nation of whom I'm a part of, that we're collectively having the same mind in this classroom or wherever we are, in a football stadium, basketball stadium, pledging allegiance to a flag that is flown over a country that is a republic, because it's standing for the republic, according to the allegiance, the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation under God. After the flag is what I'm reading. We're under the flag first and then under God. Indivisible. I'm calling that a lie. But that's just me. We can correct it, let me know. With liberty and justice for all, furthering the lie. What say you, Pastor?
Yeah, I think the idea of the republic being one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think the idea, the concept, is most noble. If
I
it
agree with
were
you.
a reality,
that part.
I would proudly pledge allegiance to that. Um, I do understand that we have a lot of people, a lot of brothers and sisters that have fought for this country and who uh, would give their very lives for that flag, essentially, and the principles that it's supposed to represent. Um, but there's just a dichotomy, I think, of being in America, of being a Christian in America, of being an black Christian in America. It's just a very interesting thing. Uh, because there are certain aspects about our country that we've just never seen uh, the country hold itself accountable for.
That part.
And specifically, the concept of liberty and justice, which is a big deal.
That's a huge deal
for everybody.
That's where we want to be right there. Liberty and justice for all.
For everybody.
For everybody. Aunt Ruth, that's a great question. Let's look and see. What does republic mean? A state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives. Most people that look like you and me, Aunt Ruth, are democratic in their. Another tool for division, red and blue, Republican and Democrat. I would insert this tidbit of fact that the Republican Party was started by black and brown people that look like us. Okay. A state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives, and which has an elected or nominated president rather than a monarch, or a group with a certain equality between its members.
Lofty concepts that, in theory, are wonderful. I've said it preaching a bunch of times. We make some mistakes in this country, and that we assume that the idea and the concept of democracy is a Christian or God breathed
Say it, brother.
concept.
Say it, brother.
It's not.
It's just not,
It's,
brother. This is good Bible study. Go ahead, Reverend. Talk good, man.
it's just not. That is a man-made
It's just not.
concept idea. Even when you study the word, you know, uh, Israel, God's people were a theocracy. Essentially, their leader was him, Yahweh, and he would oftentimes use leaders, but he was their king. They decided that they wanted to be like everybody else and asked for a king, and so he said, "Okay, I'm gonna give you what you asked for," and they end up getting Saul, which led to David and Solomon and so forth and so on. And of course, we know that Jesus is the ultimate king, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Um, but the concept of democracy is not a Christian concept, because if you just think about it, it is essentially the rule of the people of themselves, giving power to people that they elect to create laws. Well, ask yourself, when did the majority of people, ever know what was best for the majority of the people?
We can wait for that too. Another lofty concept. It's a great writing too. Some of the greatest.
Oh man,
ever.
these guys were swift.
I mean,
swift.
let's answer this right quick. Is that same as mammon? No, Aunt Ruth. Uh, biblically, or so you're saying like how we've come to use the word. The word mammon is regarded as wealth. Currently an archaic, the archaic definition, and biblically, Jesus said you cannot serve God and mammon. So if we regard mammon as wealth or money, you can input that word money synonymously with that. You can't serve God and money.
Did we do what TNT on that?
We did. We talked about that. We got to run it back.
Okay.
Yeah. The love of money, not money.
Yep. Nothing wrong with money.
Yes. So yes, we did talk. We did talk about
Yeah,
that.
I about to say, I thought we did a mammon one on
We
mammon.
did one on mammon.
Yep.
God and mammon. So that was the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's look a little bit at this. We're talking about two different Americas. One for a certain group of people and one for another group of people. On July 4th in 1776, in this wonderful country that we live in, a group of men got together and presented a document, amazingly written, like one of the most well-crafted documents
ever
to date. It opens saying this: the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. Hear me on this. And to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. It sounds biblical, brother.
It's right there.
A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all, we say that word a lot, don't we?
It's in there a lot.
All men are created equal, that they are endowed by their, and they capitalize this in the document, their creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, capital, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive, let me read that again, that whenever any form of government, wherever any form of godliness becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form. It's like a run-on sentence.
Yeah, we get into a period.
As to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Their safety and happiness. What say you, Reverend?
I don't know that more. I can see that word. Is that word prudence?
Yeah.
I don't know that more prudent words have been spoken. The irony, I would say, about the writing of those words is the very first part. Let me see if I can go back to it.
Oh, yeah, right there. Yep.
Okay. Yep. And that's what I say. The irony to me is in Congress, July 4th,
right.
1776.
Right.
Civil War wasn't fought till 1860.
That part.
Which means at the height of this writing, some of the men were enslaved, in chains, beaten, raped, and pillaged. And for some reason, as the person was writing these words, they didn't take into account that there's these men that are probably the person who provided the paper and the ink for these writings.
And gonna be fighting on you for you. Man. Huh?
The first man that died in this Revolutionary War was a man that looked like us.
See?
Yet and still, for some reason, these other men must not have had the same capital C creator, must not have had the same requirement of safety and happiness.
And
so it's just very ironic.
So we live now in an America where a young boy, 16, can go knock on the door that's the wrong door, trying to do what he is obligated and responsibility for, looking after his younger siblings, and get shot not once but twice in the head and chest because you knocked on the wrong door and you didn't look like the people that dwell there. The literature says safety and happiness. I'd love to interview him one day and say, how often have you been made to say the Pledge of Allegiance?
Wow.
And then to get his understanding, Ralph Yarl, the young man, of the Pledge of Allegiance. And then talk to the gentleman. I'm saying that word very gingerly. What's that man's name? I can't even, him right there.
Yeah.
Andrew Lester.
Yeah.
The name sounds
suspect.
His name is Andrew Lester, and ask him the same questions. In his opinion, are all men created equal? Now think about your answer. Don't answer too swiftly. Man, I would love to ask George Zimmerman, who's currently on tour selling his book and signing Skittles wrappers, being funded by a certain group of people. So Ruth Williams, Aunt Ruth, since there are two Americas, which one would you prefer? I would prefer the third one. That wasn't the option, which we have yet to live in. It's where I would like to be. I'm tired of code switching. I am tired of killing children. I am tired of marching. I am weary and fatigued of posting banners and speaking about it. I am completely invested in the what the Declaration of Independence is saying. I am without inhibition and beyond measure invested in it. I said last week we were talking about buying this cow, and those interested will talk more about it offline. I'll make those contact stuff available. It's not procured yet, but there are some developments just happened today actually, and so we're seeing how that goes. Uh, this is something that hasn't really been done the way I've been presenting it, and so the farmers that I've been talking to are trying to see how to accommodate this because it's kind of a unique situation
Right.
to get one uh, bovine and then have it slaughtered and try to procure the meat is just it can be an astronomical price, and I'm trying to enter it in with what the larger scheme so we don't have that price and
Right.
make it work.
Right.
And but they know the seriousness of me and how I'm intending on seeing it through. So everybody's working to do that. Anyway, I'm saying that today. I've already been invested in that mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and that is the America that I'd like to live in. The letter said, "When there is not one, to separate and create one."
That's what it said. That's what they did.
The book says, the reference book that has parables and truth in it that we refer to all the time, be in the world, not of it. It sounds the same to me. What say you, Reverend? Sounds very similar.
It just it sounds so uh so biblical. I mean, even
Man,
when you deal with kind of the children of Israel and the whole idea of Exodus, uh, they only were able to somewhat assimilate because they were enslaved, and then they had a leader who decided that y'all's lives are too good, even though you're enslaved, and I don't really care about how you got here. Do more because we own you.
mm,
And then there was the opportunity for a level of an amicable release when Moses says, "Look, we want to just be released so we can worship our God. Leave us alone. We're not
right.
bothering you. We haven't done nothing to
We
you."
haven't done nothing to you.
And the hardening of Pharaoh's heart was like, "Nah, I'm God. You're going to do what I say." Until the point where God essentially had to insert himself in the situation just so that they could essentially say, "Look, this government needs changing. We need to form our own government. We need to be under our own auspices of the control of our creator."
That's biblical,
That's
people.
biblical. That happened.
Oh man.
That happened. Uh, and so when so I want to answer the question. Um, it would be wonderful to have lived in the first America. The way that those words were, those ideas, those concepts, it would have been wonderful. And the reality is that it just never has happened. I was listening to Roland Martin talk not too long ago, and he was breaking down essentially the history of the African American, essentially uh, freedom in terms of just some level of equality and freedom according to the way that history played itself out. You got, you know, 260 some odd years of slavery and then the 100 years of Reconstruction and Jim Crow
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
we didn't experience any really level of freedom until 1970.
Can you really fathom that? I mean, like really get that, really get that.
The Civil Rights Act is 60, 68, 69, 1970. And so in the last
Really get
50
that,
years,
brother.
these are the strides that we have been making. And I want to echo my brother's sentiments in the laundry list of things that I'm over. But you know what is really getting me more and more every day is
Tell me, Reverend.
the idea that it's not just two Americas, but the idea that we are members of two different churches.
Come through. This is a good
And
Bible study now.
when a white man opens his door and kills a teenage black, then kills, shoots a teenage black man, injures him severely.
It seems he had the intent to kill, though. So that's where it's in pastor's mind. You shoot him in the head and the chest. That's intentional.
Yeah, those are kill shots. Boom, boom. Right? And while he's been arrested, he got to go, and what Ben Crump said was he got to sleep in his own bed that night. They had to wait for a statement from the injured.
They have to. Can I just insert this? I'm trying to keep my.
Go ahead.
The police is saying they have to get a statement from the young boy that got shot in the head and chest before they can do an arrest. I need y'all to really let that sink in a little bit. Michael, you up here, baby girl. What part of the law is that? She called me today. We talked today. I called her. We were on. She was getting. She's on a jury doing some trial. I don't know. But I just wanted to hear my baby girl's voice. Something compelled me to call her. And she said she was doing this thing and she was glad to hear from me. And we talked a minute. And then I said, baby girl, like I tried to let her live and do her thing, but I'm right here for you. Right. But she is familiar with the law, literally insanity. So, because I want to know, because you know more than me. She's my daughter, but she's a whole lawyer person. Got that.
Right.
It's why I was saying all that information. So I don't know, but it sounded crazy to me.
Right.
You got to ask the dude that's in a coma what happened. They got surveillance and other. The dude turned himself in. So maybe that's a portion of in his favor.
Maybe.
Andrew Lester turned himself in. But the dude is fighting for his life, the young boy.
Right.
I'm sorry, Reverend.
No, but what
I'm trying to, the book says be angry and sin not. I'm trying to do that part. So I'm working on me. I'm trying to be.
No, you're doing a good job. But what's frustrating and irritating to me is that when something like this happens, you're going to have the Al Sharptons of the world, the Ben Crumps of the world that are going to, try to champion this man's cause. But what's irritating and what's frustrating to me is that where are the wonderful people? See, this should infuriate. If you are a member of the body of Christ, we can almost stomach two Americas, but we should not be able to stomach two churches. And Dr. Martin Luther King said it better than everybody else. The silence.
Woo! Reverend, you talking good to me.
And if you are my brother, joint heirs with Jesus, the outrage should be, you should be feeling it and championing it with the same level of fervor as a Ben Crump. There should be one.
Or Michael LaMelle. I can't take it.
Right.
Or Joseph Williams.
Yes,
I can't.
We should be sitting arm in arm, lock and lock, saying we have to stop this. That the world is sick because of this disease called racism, and we're going to put an end to it. But it shouldn't only come from people that look like me, that beautiful plum skin brown. There should be a lot of more one, particularly
non-melanated.
Yes,
it's wonderful.
Non-melanated, particularly those that are in the church, that are in the body. You should be on the forefront.
I need y'all to share this with some wonderful people. Do that.
And that's what's really plucking me.
Tap them in.
Because every single time there's a situation, we don't hear your voices loud enough. And to me, that is why we have two different Americas. Well, one of the reasons we have two different Americas.
Yeah.
Because the privilege that's being enjoyed by the others, the wonderful people, you're not saying anything against it. And I just have a feeling that when you see Jesus, he's not going to be satisfied with the answer that you provide.
Well, so Reverend, is it two different Jesuses?
See, that's what I'm saying.
See,
That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of us all. You know, when you were talking, you saw the what's the church that you went to, the real famous church that you went to?
where?
I think it was in Germany.
Yeah, the dome at Cologne.
Right.
Cologne, yeah.
Right.
It's like Notre Dame. It was built, it's 800 years old.
Right. Is that the one that burned?
Yeah, it did burn, but Notre Dame.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there too. Yeah.
But what happened though was essentially it wasn't our church.
Right.
We didn't have nothing to do with that. I ain't ever seen it. Right. But all of us began to send money because we cared about what was happening.
Right.
And that same level of empathy is lacking in these two different countries that we live in. And that's the thing that starts to just, it gets me more and more, because I'm like, man, if there were a bunch of, beautiful people around here killing wonderful people, we would have something to say on it.
That part.
We can't do that.
That part.
We have to stop this.
That part.
We have to say something about this. And the silence is deafeningly loud.
I had a quote, and when I'm long gone, it may be something profound to someone else. But I strongly feel it was divinely deposited. That sometimes quiet is the loudest necessary volume. Would you? Right?
Right.
Man. Let's look at this other thing right here. I'm just trying to, it didn't start in my mind as making a case. I was just presenting some information. It feels like I'm making a case now. Right. Baby girl said, Micah said, it's true. She's my baby girl. I can say that. But she said, my youngest child. Micah said, it's true that the initiation is usually, caps, usually a written, I'm saying it for people in the book of faith, a written complaint. But that's not always the case. Right. I would think that officers are encouraged to use discretion, especially in situations like this. And it doesn't always come from the victim directly. I mean, that's elementary. It's like we just
simple. If you walk into a house, right, and you shoot 3 people and they're dead, there's no victims to talk to. So you don't have to wait for a statement. You are the criminal and are going.
And you're on the ring that did it. Or somebody saw you walking on that street,
right,
coming or going.
Come on now. We know. And
my cousin says there God is not dwell in confusion. Yes, cuz yes, exactly, you are right.
Exactly. And the Facebook comments, many slave owners, lynchers were so-called Christians, which is this is part of my
what Pastor was saying.
And my dear cousin, Mr. Cool himself, John Boyette, says, y'all do know that just yesterday, and this is true, as we focus on the shooting in Kansas City, a grand jury concluded in another case that the police acted legally when they shot I believe his name was Jalen?
Something like that. Yeah.
The unarmed black man was shot more than 40 times. He was running away from the police unarmed. They said they found a gun in the car. After they killed him, though, he was running away. And they shot him. 80 rounds or something like that.
And they said the police acted legally.
They chose not to even indict. Not enough evidence to indict. That just happened too.
I got a cousin that got arrested for some weed and got like 15 years. He didn't have a brick, bruh. Not a brick.
Yeah.
Man, go ahead, man.
Yeah. And the $1 million question that keeps being asked is, let's just say races, the colors were reversed. What do we?
And you have to be really honest in that. Because tomorrow, I got to ask a couple of wonderful people that I'm going to be with. I got to know, particularly at the uber conservative Regent University.
Right.
Because
And
they always saying, "Oh, brother, and how are you? We're praying for you." And are you really? I need to know.
yep.
Mm.
None of these nonsensical shootings of black will end unless the white middle class speaks out, as you guys have said. They've been quiet. Mike and I have been very vocal about
Yes,
the Black Lives Matter movement. There's nothing wrong with the word, but the movement was founded by some people who uh, don't necessarily espouse to traditional Christian values about the
correct.
family, certain things. They have their whole manifesto listed out. We
And
talked about it
George
many times.
Soros funded it, and they are Marxists. That's a whole
And
nother.
if you
We've been talking about that.
Google them if you don't know who he
Right,
is, right?
right.
And I've said it that the problem is that they should not have had to start it. We should have had it starting in our wonderful suburban churches.
Correct.
They should have stood up and saw what was happening, like with Trayvon Martin, and said, "Nah,
Right.
enough is enough. We got to start protecting the people that live here
Yes.
as a community."
That word right there. Common, right? Unity.
Because they do it for Asians. There's an Asian crime bill.
Yeah,
right now.
man.
It's being done for Jewish people. I saw a commercial the other day that I was thinking about sending some money to, and it was basically saying, stop Jewish hate. Of course, I was thinking about sending some money because I'm myself a Shemite. Conversation for another day. However,
we actually talked about it a couple of times.
I understand. Like, yeah, that's I'm fine with supporting these particular causes. Had looked into some stuff about supporting Israel and certain things. Like, I'm fine with us supporting them, but those people should be championing our causes as well, not just as our causes, but as a cause of humanity. These are human rights violations.
Correct.
And again, two Americas, because we got two different churches.
Man, that's a serious listen. And I don't count it an allegation. I count it as a truth.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm waiting for somebody to contest it, like try.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the truth.
Yep.
All the way live. Let me read a little bit of this.
Yes, sir. Read.
So we have, I put it up here, didn't I? Let me see if I can. Yeah.
People ain't gonna believe this.
So I'll be laying. I guess we could just do it right here on here. So that flag, I would say this, or maybe I should read this first. But I'll say this: the flag that we have come to pledge. We went over pledge and allegiance. Our allegiance to the republic for which it stands. It stands for the republic, right?
Yep.
And it is a Confederate battle flag. Let me say that first. It is a Confederate battle flag, which essentially means that we've been at war for 200 years almost. There's only one time when it was flown different. And that's how they can just say, okay, we're at war. We're not war, and we're under a Confederate battle flag of war that we're literally pledging our allegiance to. Very interesting. It's called, nicknamed, Old Glory. Whose glory? The flag has its own glory? I thought we were one nation under God. Anyway, what do I know? What do I know? Let's go to this. This, my dear friends and brothers, beloved, is the Star Spangled Banner, which is saying at all of your football games, all of your basketball games, and you stand and have the same allegiance to this song as you do the flag, because this song is holding up the merits of the flag. Oh, say, can you see? Listen to the story in the picture it's painting. By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. They were actually fighting, and Francis Scott Key took into account the battle that was going on and wrote about it. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. You know, when people win a battle, they raise their flag.
Yep.
As they're going into battle, they're holding it up.
Yep.
So they already had the flag, and then they planted it. And the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. The Star Spangled Banner. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? Not you, not me. And the home of the brave. And then we clap, and then we cheer.
And play ball.
And play ball. But I want to bring to your attention the third verse, which is hardly ever sang. And then go and do your own research. Don't believe nothing I say. Go and search it for yourself. And where is that band who so vauntingly swore that the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country should leave us no more? They're talking about the people that came over here trying to fight and end slavery and end this battle. That's what they're talking about. Their blood was washed out, their foul footsteps pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave. This is the lyrics to the actual song. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave. And the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free, not you, not me, and the home of the brave. Oh, thus it be ever when free men shall stand. That's not you, Reverend, or me. Between their loved home and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, when our cause it is just. And this be our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave over the land of the free, not you, not me, and the home of the brave. What say you all to that? I find it interesting that we are we don't sing the third verse. We should sing all of it. And this was like a fourth choice for our songs. It was America the Beautiful was in the running. It was down to those two, actually. It was a couple of...
God Bless America, right?
Yeah.
And
yep.
Star Spangled Banner. You should, like Michael said, you shouldn't take his word for it. You should, if you have the opportunity, see if you can pick up some reading about Francis Scott Key.
Please do. Please do.
I'm going to just leave it there.
Just leave it. Hello.
You should just Google them and just pick up some reading.
This has a profound impact with regards to critical race theory. We didn't even go deep into anything. We got with starting with the pledge and the flag. Some comment.
Some of the stuff from Superintendent Joseph Williams, some of the stuff we had to endure in Christian schools, college, were perpetuated by Christians. How do we fix that? Repentance, what I would say, because repent means that you have to acknowledge that you're doing the wrong thing and change your ways. And I don't know. I grew up in a wonderfully Christian saved home. And, I guess I wasn't like a rank sinner, as some may say. But I specifically understand the difference in my life since Jesus came into my life. The song says floods of joy, oh my soul.
Right.
And the sea billows roll.
Reverend.
But there is a difference in me. Now, will I still smack you? Yes. I will ask God to forgive me if it comes to that. But smacking somebody is probably the last resort, because I'm not smacking people no more. I'm saved.
Right.
I understand.
There was a time,
there was a time where it just didn't matter. Say the wrong thing, smack. Have witnesses.
That part.
Ocular proof.
Receipts.
Don't do it. But what I'm saying is, the Lord changed me.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir.
And I don't know how you can just continue these things with this. The Bible talks about, your seared consciousness. You don't feel anything.
Right.
And how can you carry a cross to a lynching? Why are you burning a cross to intimidate somebody racially? Why are you so mad? We were the ones enslaved. We should be burning crosses every day.
Man.
But you repent and stop it. But here's the problem. I ain't gonna say never. But there's a level of comfort, and some of the stuff that we're dealing with now is a product of our own sin. Why is critical race? What is critical race theory? What is critical race theory? The only people who seem to speak of it seem to be white. You want to say what critical race theory is?
I was gonna get an
official definition.
An official definition, and then how we've been doing.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get an official definition. It's just so interesting. The irritation, I guess, of it. There's that wonderful video
with that guy, right?
That guy, I love that one.
Man, I keep posting it. That's funny, bro.
If you haven't seen it, to summarize, there's a guy that's going around and interviewing people, and he asked them, how can we help save the country? And it's this wonderful man, older, wonderful man, who says, we got to teach these kids and get them back, teach them education, and get rid of this critical race theory. I don't like that stuff. The guy says, well, sir, what is critical race theory? He said, well, I'm not going to get into all of that. I don't really know all that much about it, but I just know that I don't like it.
That part.
Yes, sir, if you don't know about it, how you know you don't like it? Well, I'm not going to speak on all of that. I just know that it ain't good. It's a bad thing.
What? And so we like, wait, what? And he's saying it with conviction. Like, for real. Man. All right. I'm going to read it here. I had to put it over here, Pastor, so I so I can actually see what's going on. So this comes from the Oxford dictionary. Well, it's not opening up. I'll do it here. Very interesting. It reached back to 1989.
Oh yeah.
With the,
CRT.
Yeah.
Yep.
The actual beginning.
Right.
So let me read some of this for your hearing. This is the Oxford reference, and this is the quick reference to CRT. A radical movement. That's interesting. They put that in there.
Mm-hmm.
A radical movement within jurisprudence that traces its origin to a conference held in Madison, Wisconsin in 1989. sometimes called outsider jurisprudence. It sets out to challenge the conventional liberal approach to civil rights issues, in particular, the notion that there can be a colorblind view of social justice. CRT regards the privileged position occupied by mostly white, middle class academics as a major obstacle to a comprehensive exposure of the racism that is seen to permeate the law, its rules, concepts, and institutions. Adherents generally argue that only those who have themselves suffered the indignity and injustice of discrimination can be the authentic voices of marginalized racial minorities. The law's formal constructs reproduce, it is claimed, the reality of a privileged male white elite whose culture, way of life, attitudes, and norms constitute the prevailing neutrality of the law.
And so,
in other words, it's the other America.
Right. And so the controversy is that proponents that say that this theory is kind of a real thing are saying that we need to essentially reteach history without this lens that purifies whiteness and begin to tell the truth about things that happen. And so the conversation that we literally just had about the Declaration of Independence, we're not just going to teach you the Declaration of Independence and that Thomas Jefferson was this brilliant man.
Right.
We're going to teach you that he was brilliant. He wrote one of the greatest papers that's ever been, yet he was a hypocrite because he owned slaves.
Correct.
So we have to give you the total story.
All of it.
All of it. And so opponents of critical race theory are saying that the people that want to teach this type of thing are trying to teach that America is inherently racist and that white people are responsible in large degree for the ills that are happening in the world. And so I'm gonna give two.
Show the lie.
I'm gonna give two examples. So you have the picture of Jerry Jones at the high school at 15 years old, and all the other lynchings and things that you've seen. Well, now these people are grandparents, and they were there in this history, but they don't want their grandkids to know, oh, we were a part of the history. It's kind of like this Freaknik documentary that's about to come out.
You got it, brother. You got it.
That a lot of people is like, uh-oh, we're nervous because
brother,
y'all was doing some stuff then that you don't really want to have associated with you now.
You know what's awesome? I haven't got one call because everybody knows I'm not a part of it.
I ain't never been, so I ain't worried about
not
it.
even been to one.
Never been, so I ain't worried.
Wow.
Right, never been. So
how many people in the chat are nervous? It's interesting. The book says be anxious for nothing, but I'm trying not to be anxious. I'm very curious about
bro. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
It's so funny. I don't know. I just don't want to see nobody.
You're gonna see
that's on the praise team.
Well, Saul was a murderer.
Right.
David was an adulterer.
Oh my!
He'll be all right.
God. I got one friend. I'll tell you later, but he said that he good. He said he definitely definitely is on it because he know the people.
Right. You know the dudes.
Oh man. Wow. So he was like tapped in, boots on the ground. but he said he wasn't doing nothing on camera, and he was. But he said he probably gonna be singing. I said, wow. Okay.
I love it.
Okay, Reverend.
In the space.
You bring out a lot of information. This is my little cousin. You bring out a lot of information that is educational, and we need to educate our young people so they can understand the struggle of their ancestors. Yes, cuzzo. Yep. Knowledge is power.
Yep. Knowledge is power. Ruth says, how do you take into account the hymns that were written while these things were taking place? I think we have to examine them critically.
Yes.
Amazing Grace is a wonderful song, but you should know the history of it. You
It
should
is
know.
well with my soul too.
Yeah, you should know that. And see, the beautiful. I think that is. I think that like when me and Mike kind of share the same opinion. When they started tearing down all the statues and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
I thought it was a little bit. I thought it was kind of much ado about nothing.
Right.
Because the statues should have never been built to start with.
That part.
Because they weren't built at the time that these people were alive or right after. They were built when they started seeing black people making progress. So,
and they were honoring the people that lost.
Right, honoring the losers.
Just like this flag. I mean, I can't even get into it, brother. Go ahead.
Right, but I think that what you do, or what the best way to do it, or my way would be, you allow the reality of the history to be told, but you should also tell the other part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, before my school changed its name to Craddock Elementary, it was called James Hurst Elementary. James Hurst was one of those typical Virginian virulent race guys.
Right.
And while I'm cool with not going and teaching at the school named from him, we need to be able to still tell the story about what he did. And I think that with these songs, they can be spiritually uplifting. They can have a great message. But God can use anybody. Just finished reading the story of Balaam in the book of Numbers. And a lot of people don't really understand that the word, God is not a man that he should lie, comes from a false prophet who
been saying a lot.
Right, but who was determined and solid enough in his gift to say, I might prophesy against these, but I'm never going to say nothing about him for real. So the truth of that is that God is not going to lie. I might lie, but he don't. Well, you need to know the context of that particular story so that you understand really how profound it is.
Right.
This guy he wasn't saved, sanctified, baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost.
He ain't even subscribing to the concepts of it.
Right. We're talking about it Sunday. That it was Pharaoh who recognized the Spirit of God in Joseph. Who can we find to whom the Spirit of God is?
That part.
Not the people in the covenant. Not his brothers, not his daddy. It was a pagan who thought he was God.
And none of the people that already worked for him. Yeah. Like nobody.
Right. So God can speak through anything. I think the Declaration of Independence is one of the finest
indeed
pieces of man-made writing ever.
And God inspired.
And I think Thomas Jefferson was super brilliant. Doesn't change the fact that he was a super racist and was a rapist.
He was a pedophile too, actually.
Yeah. I mean, these are facts, though. They go hand in hand. The Bible does not tell us the story of David only being a psalmist and a king. And it doesn't remove the story of him committing adultery. Bathsheba is known in the Bible, in many texts, as the wife of Uriah. Mm-hmm. She's Solomon's whole mama.
Yeah.
The Bible is very clear. This is who she was. They don't remove the bad or right. the part that we don't like that much.
The uncomfortable part.
It tells the whole story. And there's redeemable things, I think, about a lot of it that I think you tell the whole story.
The whole story, brother. I love it. I just talked, was it last night, night before last, to my dad about that. He was preaching, he had to preach Sunday. And so we were sitting in the evening at the dinner table. And he says, we started talking Bible. He was telling about his scripture, what he was preaching. And I asked him, in a nutshell, does he ever preach Genesis?
Uh-huh.
And I said, I believe that the conversation of creation will bring more people to God than Jesus. And he looked at me and I said, I'm not trying to be sacrilegious. We've said this on I've said this on TNT. That something happens when you just start the conversation with Jesus, that people either jump in or they build a wall. That is divisive already in nature. We've been kind of programmed like that. The world is.
Right.
When you say Jesus, or he's a Jesus freak, or he's a fanatic, or he's that, or Jehovah's Witness. It's just tools for division. Even though how powerful the name is, it sets people in compartments.
Right.
But creation is all inclusive and irrefutable on really any level. If you don't think so, stop breathing. Really that simple. And my point was, we began to talk about Genesis and creation and the nature of the earth, because he's a name. We talked about water being a straight line, sea level. And he became another person. He just dove in asking questions. And the whole sum of it was preaching the whole Bible. I don't know when the last time, other than pastor here, I heard a pastor preach anything or even reference Revelation. I just don't know.
I got 7 messages.
My point. I got a couple of teachments. I'm not a pastor, but I got some notes that I can pull up on that. As a matter of fact, I said some of them last week when I had that Revelation 13.
Right.
So I'm just charging people that it's a reference book, but it's an instruction manual, and it's a total piece of work. That's all I'm saying.
Amen. It's yeah, total piece of work. It's almost a misnomer to call it a book, because it's a collection of books, writings over the span of at least 1,000 years, which I don't think we just get, that all are telling the same story.
And they were from different far places. Like,
right. Talked about it a little bit Sunday with just John talking about Jesus being the Word. It's so profound to me.
Yeah.
It just blows me away all the time. But he's borrowing from in the beginning, what happened in the beginning. Well, that Jesus, the Word, was there in the beginning. John says nothing was made by him. I mean, nothing was made that was not made by him. So even in telling the creation narrative, you're going to get to our Lord and Savior, because that's how we get here.
I heard an old preacher, I'd say this a lot. He'd say, wherever you preach from, son, take them to the cross.
Got to get them there, brother.
So
got to get them there. It
just stands the reason, wherever you at, from Genesis to Revelation, Amos, Habakkuk, it don't matter.
Got to get them there.
To the cross.
Get them there.
Got to get there to the cross, man.
Yep.
So it's a whole thing. I'm trying to figure out how to. I feel very strong recently. Other than yesterday. Yesterday I did my Nat Turner play, and it took a lot out of me mentally and emotionally. Just doing that piece at my sister's school. But overall, I feel very strong without distraction and focused. That, and I'm galvanizing some concepts and ideas that I have, just like some I shared here today. Because I'm tired of some things. I need some things implemented and moving forward. There's several stories, Black history type stories, that I'd like to film. And I've been configuring on my mind how to do those. And also talking about micro schools that Pastor and I are talking about, how to implement these so we can police ourselves, love on ourselves, educate ourselves, and then we can be in it and not of it. I'm late, but I'm checking in. Boom. HJ.
Yep.
Yeah. So we passed the time. Man, it just kind of went fast.
Just went by. What's up? My dear sister Nina, I see you checking in. Appreciate you. Make sure I got all our Facebook brothers. Oh, my brother Bishop Baker's on the line.
Bishop.
All right, appreciate you guys checking in. I think I shouted out everybody whose name I saw. I hope I did.
We're saying everybody over here.
Sister Taylor.
Yeah,
Oh,
Deaconess
Marlene.
Karen Scott boomed in earlier. We say that again right there. She boomed in. Clem the Jim. Do you think when Jesus rules on earth that there will be two Americas? Ruth said. When Jesus rules on earth, there will be two Americas. No. I think there's going to still be some separation because he can be right there smacking you in the head and people still ain't going to believe, just like when he was here. So that's just going to be the case.
He said that if they won't believe Moses and the prophets, they're not really going to believe much because it's right there. It's spelled out so succinctly. But I mean, obviously, if Jesus is ruling the earth, then he would be in charge. So, but I think it's like Michael said, man, you know, our Lord and Savior was just a different guy, man. You know, and he says, I didn't come, you know, with milk and cookies. I came with the sword. I'm trying to cause some division and agitation and separation. So do with it what you want to do with it, because he's right. Everybody else is wrong. So it's either get with how he wants it done, you know, and I believe that he's a champion of social justice, which means that we're going to pick up the causes of everybody who is lacking. That's why that idea of justice, liberty and justice
for all,
for everybody.
And then it concluded with safety and happiness.
Right. These are biblical motifs.
Yes.
If you will.
Yes. Be safe out there.
Yeah.
I was listening to a pastor and they were trying to stump him, giving these questions. They're talking about, and this was a political guy asking a pastor this question about thou shalt not kill, because they were trying to make these laws. They're talking about abortion and about thou shalt not kill. And he said that the word was like rakia, or some Hebrew word about, yeah. It's two different words for murder, just like we have for killing.
Right.
Just like we have in America, English.
Right.
Several words for one thing, but several context meanings.
Right.
And I just thought that was interesting. And they tried to get him. He was like, it's very clear. Like, you're choosing to not see. Like Jesus said, this is it right here. You can choose whatever you like.
Yeah.
You have that option.
Yep.
But you should choose wisdom. But just because you can choose different, you don't mean you should.
Exactly.
And you know, thou shalt not kill is not saying that I'm not going to have self-defense.
Right.
I really think there needs to be different repercussions for people who do murder.
Yep.
Here in this country. Other countries have it and they have less headache.
Yeah, you should. You should be able to mistakenly ring a doorbell and not get shot. That's part of safety. You know, you should be able to get stopped by the authorities and make it home to kiss your wife and your kids.
Simple.
We know that there's going to be evil in the world. There's going to be accidents. There's going to be things that happen, but you should be able to go to the store without having to wear a bulletproof vest, worrying about somebody deciding to shoot it up. You know what I'm saying? You should have been able to be successful and Black in America without having somebody threaten you with a rope around your neck. We shouldn't even be having some of these conversations. Babies should be able to go to school without having to pass through metal detectors because some sicko wants to do what they do, you know what I mean, or whatever. This stuff is easy.
Yeah, it is.
It's easy.
It is.
You know, and so the concept of America, I think, is a beautiful thing. It's almost utopian. You know, a place of safety and happiness, where everybody is experiencing the rights that come from their creator, live in a land where everybody has freedom, which can be a little bit dangerous, but at the same time.
And then if we're all on the same page, then it will be easy.
Yep.
No one is above the other.
Right.
We're sharing equal.
Right.
They bought all. The text speaks of them bringing all and then dividing it, and none was lacking.
Nobody lacking.
So then there was no need for any shenanigans.
Yep. No need. No need for it.
Deacon Scott says stream 4. Oh yeah, his vision, my vision for the building of a sustainability and sustainability of a full and wholesome community. I've always been talking about that. It is coming. We're going to see it through. We're writing it and making it plain so the men can know.
Amen.
Man, there's a guy that I want to do a story about soon. He was a wonderful person. This white man in Philadelphia who actually, because he was against slavery, went and lived in a cave and refused to wear cotton because black people were picking it.
Wow. It's a great.
So they ostracized him.
Uh-huh.
That's a story, brother.
Yeah, it's a great story.
But because of critical race theory, this we won't hear that.
Yeah. Nah.
But I'm saying this is someone should be upheld.
Yeah.
He actually went. This is kind of the retribution thing that I'm all in, and snatched some children from some wonderful people and took them away to enforce the feeling and the gravity of children being snatched and taken from people of color.
People need to see it.
He literally did that.
People need to see it.
And of course, they were hunting for him. That's a good movie, Doc.
People need to see it, brother.
So anyway, hopefully I have you all support. But that film, I've been trying to construct because it's not going to be very popular. We're going to have to all collectively support it.
Let's do it.
Stream 4. Stay on the lookout for that. Science. I know you all have heard of STEM. Science, technology, reading, engineering, art, and engineering will include agriculture and some things like that. Art. And then 4 M's: music, math, meditation, and mentoring. Meditation, because we hardly ever deal with mental issues and mental faculties. And this program, Stream 4, will deal and address the total man, like Chris Thomas, he did the record, the
Yes,
total
man.
for the total man.
Yep.
So working on that. If you, ma'am, or you, sir, are an educator or an administrator and would like to have a further discussion how to implement some of these tools into your school, please do not hesitate to reach out and contact, and we can see how to kind of make that work. Yep. Oh, yeah. All right, that's all. I'm done.
I'm done too.
Yeah.
I'm done too.
Oh, look up Robert Smalls too. Nick Cannon supposedly was doing this movie about it, and then of course that went away. He had somebody writing a script or the rights or whatever. But I'm going to do it. They just had 2 movies out at the same time about Emmett Till and Mamie.
Right.
One of them, TV version, was a dear friend of mine, Adrienne Warren, who just played Tina on Broadway, but she played Mamie Till.
I know Adrienne.
Yeah, she was doing that. She's been on Orange is the New Black. Her career is just crazy blooming.
Yeah. Players, right?
Some of you here may remember her when she played Annie, and Hugh Copeland was daring and brave enough to cast a little black girl as Annie, and the wonderful community was outraged.
Yeah,
it even made Jet Magazine back in the day.
Yeah.
But she did a stand-up fantastic job. We did a couple of shows together. But anyway, she played Mamie Till. Then I had the opportunity of doing a play about Emmett Till's life that his mother actually wrote.
Wow.
Contributed to writing, and which is the real story. Did you know, Reverend, you're a history buff like myself. This is the last thing I'm going to say. We're going to go. That Emmett Till was actually a stutterer. So people that haven't really dealt with this, and I didn't see these two last films, but this is from his mother's writing and input.
Right.
Who else better?
Right.
She said he was a stutterer, and then she says that to help him not stutter, she told him to stop, take a breath, and then whistle.
Wow.
In his excitement as a child, he would start to act anxious or nervous,
Right.
excited, he would stutter. It's interesting that this person says that he was whistling at her.
Right.
Kind of ties a loop to the story that
Right.
we never really had information, right?
Yeah.
We addressed it in the play.
Wow.
That was all the audience was just mind blown when, about this tidbit of information. I just thought that was noteworthy. That's an interesting.
It is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
he was whistling, but as she said, he was not whistling at her. She admits to that. She made it up. It was a lie.
Right.
I would imagine that everyone in the town kind of knew that he had this issue.
Right. Should have mattered whether he was or not.
But it shouldn't have mattered. Yeah. But in that America, boom.
Yep.
All right. We need to boom out.
All right. We're going to boom out. See my dear friend Latoya, you said you sorry you missed it night. You can always
run it
back.
Run it back on the YouTube.
On the YouTube or on the thing.
Yes.
We got you. All right. Love y'all.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all.
Two Americas.
As always.
Dick Gregory, that was a friend of mine. He said that it was two Donald Trumps.
Wow.
One with the red tie, one with the blue tie. You can look at what he's saying on this time and this time.
I can see that.
He actually said they cloned him. That's another story. But yeah. Boom, 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 boom. All right, let's boom it out. We love you guys. Like, share, subscribe, and share this one with some wonderful people or some beautiful people, whoever.
That's
just
right.
everybody. Repost it. Look at it again. Tell us how we can be better, how you would like it. All right. See, Deacon and Scott. Oh, the songbird. Ebony Angel, my sister Tasha. Yes. Clem Alexander, booming out. We love you guys. All right.
All right.
Let's boom that.
Boom.
Boom.
See you next week.
Peace and chicken grease.